Well, good morning and good evening. Welcome to US-India Strategic Partnership Forum Summit. This is our day 4, and the title of the event is US-India Navigating New Challenges. We are delighted to have General Rawat for our session this morning. We have also later today Prime Minister of India giving his keynote address. So we're delighted to have a conversation with General Rawat. I am going to invite John St. Frank of Lockheed to introduce the speakers itself. John? Frank, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Mukesh. Good morning to all of you in the US and a very good evening to our friends in India. The security relationship between our countries is foundational to the US-India partnership, and it's my privilege to join you today to introduce our time with a key leader in India's national security. The men and women of Lockheed Martin have as our mission providing innovative and reliable capabilities to those who work for our security. And for over 30 years, Lockheed Martin has been partnering with the government of India and the United States to bring outstanding capability to the Indian Armed Forces. And we're also proud of our investments in joint ventures in Hyderabad that are now in their second decade as part of the global supply chain for iconic rotary wing and fixed wing aircraft. We're very proud to have as our guest today, General Bipin Rawat, India's Chief of Defense Staff and Principal Advisor to the Minister of Defense on military matters. The General is leading the Department of Military Affairs to promote jointness in procurement, training, and staffing for all the armed forces, to review acquisition procedures, and to implement India's defense capital acquisition plan. Certainly no small task, but I suspect it's not the toughest task that the General has faced in over 40 years of service in regions like Kashmir, along the line of actual control, and as far afield as Africa. We look forward, sir, to hearing your thoughts on the challenges facing India in the region and how our countries can best partner to promote our shared values. Leading our discussion today is Secretary Bill Cohen. The Secretary has a long history of service as a U.S. representative and later as Senator from the state of Maine, and as the 20th U.S. Secretary of Defense, and now continuing in the private sector. Secretary Cohen, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Frank. And let me say, as we once said in the Senate, I want to associate myself with the remarks made from the gentleman from Lockheed Martin. Thank you very much. And General, it's such a pleasure for me to participate in this program and to congratulate you on being the first in this new position, and to congratulate you and commend you for being one of the truly outstanding warriors for your country. I thought I might begin in asking you some geopolitical issues and security issues, but first, you have spoken about a two-front challenge. We used to have a similar situation with a two-front war, but perhaps you could talk a little bit about what that challenge is from China and also from Pakistan. What are the challenges you face from these two countries? What do you see as the challenge? How is it going to evolve in the future, and how can you be prepared for that challenge?
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be amidst you today. Well, as you all know, we have unsettled borders along the northern front and also in the western front with Pakistan. And therefore, our military force will continue to be a significant factor in determining our national security. Effective and efficient armed forces with ability to comprehend and adapt to future challenges defined by full spectrum theaters across all domains, that is land, maritime, air, cyber, and space, are indeed the need of the hour. Our armed forces will have to be prepared to meet immediate crisis and concurrently prepare for future. The shadow of state-sponsored terrorism and proxy war in our state of Jammu and Kashmir, and the aspect of increasing involvement of the armed forces in ensuring internal security also merit consideration in our security dynamics from time to time. Operational infrastructure development in the Tibetan Autonomous Region, completion of the highway renovation project, and development of strategic railway lines, coupled with the recently introduced military reforms by China, are being monitored and the implications are considered while devising a military strategy for the future. The recent changes in military organizations and structures to include adaptation of the theater command model with a single battle zone responsible for military operations improves Chinese ability to conduct synergized operations. Opportunities exist for us to develop strategic asymmetry in select military domains, especially in operations at high altitudes. Chinese economic cooperation with Pakistan in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, along with continued military, economic, and diplomatic support, mandates high levels of preparation by us. At the same time, this also poses the threat of coordinated action along the northern and western fronts, which we have to consider in our defense planning. Therefore, considering the threat from our northern and our western borders, we have devised strategies to deal with a primary front depending on which front we wish to address as being primary, considering the other front as secondary. And we have earmarked forces for that, and we have conceptualized our strategies to deal with such threat scenarios emerging on both our borders.
Well,
Thank you.
what would, General, in what way would you see a conflict triggered? What action, either by China or by your other front as such, be a challenge to you? What is it that would trigger some conflict, principally by China?
Well, we have our protocols in the way we want to ensure peace and tranquility along the borders. We have our border management protocols, which have been signed between us and China right from 1993 onwards, and we have modified the protocols continuously. But of late, we have been seeing some aggressive actions by the Chinese, but we are capable of handling these in the best suitable way. We have our tri-services, that is the Army, Navy, and Air Force, capable of dealing with our threats along our frontiers.
And looking at Pakistan, what would Pakistan do that would take action that would cause a triggering of a conflict in your judgment? What kinds of actions are you looking at?
Well, Pakistan has been launching proxy war and sponsoring, training, arming, and equipping terrorists on their soil, which they keep infiltrating into our state of Jammu and Kashmir. They have also tried to expand the terrorism into other regions of our country. So we find the threat from there will mainly be in the form of proxy war. But should any threat develop along our northern borders, Pakistan could take advantage of that and create some trouble for us on the northern borders. And therefore, we have taken adequate precautions to ensure that any such misadventure by Pakistan is thwarted and they are not able to succeed in their mission. But in fact, they may suffer heavy losses should they attempt any misadventure.
In general, what sort of assistance? There's great cooperation taking place now between the United States and India. What sort of help would you expect the United States to provide? What would you request, and what would you expect us to provide in the way of assistance should there be a conflict?
I would like to begin by saying that as far as India and the United States are concerned, our defense relationship has received a major fillip with the 2+2 ministerial dialogue that we held in Delhi, where the foundational communications compatibility and security agreement, which we refer to as the COMCASA, has been signed between our two nations. COMCASA enables the Indian military to get a better picture of maritime activity in the Indian Ocean region. In addition to this defense agreement, both countries have also agreed in a joint statement that they are discussed on advancing a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. During the 2+2 meeting, the two sides also welcomed the signing of the Industrial Security Annex, which will facilitate the exchange of relevant information between the two sides. Recently, in February this year, during the visit of US President to India, a defense deal of more than 3 billion US dollars was announced, under which India has received US military equipment like the Apache helicopters, the Chinooks, which are now proving very useful and are being employed along our northern borders. So I think what we are looking from the United States is basically information sharing and continued supply of high-tech technology battlefield systems that we can use to our advantage.
And what are the industries that are indigenous, your own industries, that you feel either are capable of providing that new technology that you need, or is there a way that you're looking to combine that with U.S. And other countries' help? In other words, what is the status of the upgrades that you are looking for?
Well, we expect that every soldier, sailor, and airman in our country must be empowered through technology so that we gain ascendancy over our adversary. We have to place weapons in the hands of our soldiers which are better than what the adversary has, or at least of the same quality. Now, the Indian defense sector is today at an inflection point of takeoff. The government and the Indian Armed Forces have very clearly demonstrated the resolve and commitment to make in India defense initiative become a success. We are looking forward to developing our indigenous industry through technical support coming in from other nations. And therefore, India is moving towards transformation to becoming a regional power. And the defense sector is increasingly occupying even bigger space in the country's long-term strategic planning process. We are increasing purchasing power with several high-end defense deals, either in the pipeline or being envisioned to strengthen India's force structure. The Indian government is very clear and focused in its vision for its defense sector indigenization of the industry and acquiring advanced technologies, which will help in turn to reduce dependence on imports from other countries around the world. And therefore, in this, we seek United Nations support to collaborate and help our industry in acquiring high-end technology, especially in aerosystems, aerospace systems, space technology. Then we are looking at cyber, artificial intelligence. And let me assure you, with 74% FDI in defense, India should become a preferred destination for investment in defense manufacturing. And so I think there is a lot of scope for India-US collaboration in the sphere of defense investment in our country.
General, India has taken great pride in its status of being non-allied. And today we might call it you being autonomous, that you have authority to take action without any constraints imposed by any other country. But as the world has changed and there have been an increase in the potential for conflict with higher technologies and cyber capabilities and space capabilities, what sort of relationships do you foresee that India, still maintaining its non-alliance as such, but building, what sort of partnerships do you envision that India will be pursuing in the coming years?
Well, today we are living in a very volatile, uncertain, complex, and an unambiguous world. India faces the most complex threats and challenges spanning the full spectrum of conflict from nuclear to sub-conventional. In terms of our immediate strategic interests, the key geostrategic challenges emanate from the instability due to perceived misconception about nationalism, often leading to conflict. The proxy war unleashed by Pakistan have blocked India's efforts at regional integration, besides fomenting terrorism against India and exploiting our diverse fault lines. The rising Chinese influence in East, Southeast, and South Asia and developments in the Indian Ocean region, including non traditional threats like piracy, maritime terrorism, human trafficking, bioterrorism, and cyber threats, to name a few, have a direct bearing on India's interests. Building upon India's strategic location, our growing global and regional interactions have ensured that our foreign policy has acquired greater visibility. Today, we must not remain content to merely react to developments in our neighborhood and the Indian Ocean region, but frequently act to shape and even initiate them. However, our policy of engagement, if not backed by credible military power and regional influence, would imply acknowledging China's preeminence in influence in the subcontinent and in the Indian Ocean region. Our strategic autonomy has to be further strengthened with like-minded extra-regional powers and underscored by strong regional linkages to provide us better options and greater degree of strategic leverage. Now, coming specifically to the United States-India cooperation, well, more broadly, we would say that India and US Indian defense partnership, the US and India have signed a number of agreements over the past several years. The COMCASA and the Indian Industrial Security Annex being just a few of them. And I understand there is potential that the BECA could also be finalized soon. We are quite confident that once these agreements are in place, we would have a better strategic collaboration with the United States within the autonomy that we have maintained thus far.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationships you have with other countries? You have been pursuing the Quad. Can you say how that is working out in terms of sharing technology, sharing training missions, and so forth? Can you talk a little bit about the Quad and your experience?
Well, we are very keen to ensure that there is complete freedom of navigation on the seas and then the airspace above. And as far as the Quad is concerned, we feel that this is a good arrangement which will ensure that the Indian Ocean region and all other oceans around, there is complete freedom of navigation without fear of any other nation singularly trying to dominate these oceans. We would like free trade, free movement of people, this area being free from piracy. And as you know, the largest number of ships and the oil reserves and the oil requirements of various nations pass through this area. So we want actually the Quad to become a system to ensure freedom of navigation and FONOPS in these areas.
Now, do you engage in bilateral exercises in the region as well?
Yes, we have been engaging in bilateral exercises with most countries in the region. We have conducted exercises with Australia. We do conduct exercises with Singapore. We do conduct exercises with Japan. And so we've been conducting exercises with most nations in the region. We do conduct exercises with Myanmar, with Nepal. And let me tell you, so far we have also been conducting exercises at the military level between the army and army, also with China, which I'm not sure what will be the future of these exercises. But our effort has been to conduct bilateral exercises with all the nations and gradually also move into maybe conducting tri-service exercise in the years ahead.
General, can you talk about your position and how you see it of working to better and modernize and streamline both the strategic vision and the procurement side of things. How do you see your position as being the first of the Chief of Staff?
Well, the appointment of the Chief of Defense Staff is a first-time experience for our nation, and therefore herein also lies the opportunity for our armed forces. This opportunity will bring about some doctrinal coherence in the Indian military's future roadmap, and we are hoping to improve inter-services synergy and also bring a balance between our civil-military relations. Toward this, we will continue to evolve our structures and systems for enhancing our integrated effectiveness and responsiveness. The keystone here is in fostering of jointness, integration, and transformation. Transformation has to be in line with the changing security environment in the world and utmost optimization of resources for greater combat effectiveness, which is indeed a must. We are moving step by step with structures and processes, starting with human resources, and are incrementally putting in place other structures. My role as the Chief of Defense Staff is to initiate the roadmap for creating jointness in procurement, in training, logistics, staffing, and in the functioning of the Department of Military Affairs, because as the CDS, I have also been nominated as the Secretary in the Department of Military Affairs, which is a direct vertical under our Defense Minister. And therefore, this is the way we are gradually leading to transformation. We are also looking at restructuring of our headquarters of our integrated defense staff and service headquarters to reduce the decision-making loop, which is a major challenge. Towards this, the process of joint concept development and experimentation are already underway in the form of new organizational structures. The entire ministry, along with the three services, we are working out a coherent strategy towards capability development. Perspective plans are already in place and prioritized inter-services issues are being taken ahead in due course. However, the economic and geopolitical disruptions caused by COVID, the pandemic that we are all troubled with, has turned out to be a national security issue. And despite the deceleration of the agendas that we have set for ourselves, we are reinvigorating the same, exploiting this disruption as an opportunity rather than as a retard. And I think my highest priority will be to ensure that we prioritize the procurement process and we make sure that we get the kind of equipment that is required to turn our forces, our defense services, into a modern force capable of dealing with our threats both on our northern and our western borders, as also to dominate the Indian Ocean region.
Let me come back to the issue of COVID. How has that impacted the readiness of your troops? Given the requirements for distancing, the requirements to sanitation, how is that impacting the health of your forces and their training and practice under these extraordinary circumstances? What is taking place, and what is the status you have of readiness?
Well, as far as the COVID pandemic is concerned, we have ensured that our frontline deployed troops are not affected by this. We have made sure that our administrative echelons are kept segregated from the frontline troops, and we are maintaining adequate social distancing and adequate distancing in ensuring that troops who are deployed on the frontiers do not come in contact or are quarantined before they are able to meet any of the administrative echelons or people who are involved in administration. So our segregation is very secure. We have managed that our frontline troops do not get affected, and we are fortunate that people who are deployed on the front line, people who are actually flying our aircraft, our combat aircraft, people deployed on our ships at sea, none of these people have been affected thus far. We have been very effective in maintaining awareness about this COVID amongst our rank and file. However, some of our boys who are involved in administrative tasks and come in contact with the local population in the hinterland have been affected. These boys are being treated and are being kept in quarantine. We have created special hospitals to take care of these people and their families and their near and dear ones. In fact, the armed forces are providing support not just to the armed forces fraternity, but also to our civilian population. We have created special COVID hospitals in every state of our nation to provide succor to our civilian population. Not only this, we have also deployed medical teams in the neighboring countries. We were successful in sending a medical team to Maldives when they sought help. We have sent a team to Kuwait. We have also sent medical supplies to a number of our friendly nations like Nepal and any other country which wanted such help. We have also assisted in evacuating our nationals, employing our Indian Navy ships and our aircraft from countries where they needed support to get our nationals back into our country. So I think we've been pretty successful in making sure that our soldiers deployed on the front line, those who are required to fly the combat aircraft, and those who are required to operate on the high seas do not get affected, and we have been successful in this mission.
One final question from me, and hopefully, Frank, I'll yield the floor to you if you have a question. But talk to me about the budget. Obviously, India has been impacted. The COVID has taken its toll on India's economic situation. Do you foresee that will have an impact? The hit that the Indian economy has taken, will that translate into less capability, less budgetary authority, and appropriations for your military?
Well, we know that the entire nation has been affected, and therefore we will see a fiscal drop as far as the military is concerned. But we will ensure that we prioritize the manner in which we are going to make available the budget and utilize the budget that is made available to us. We will ensure that we can cut down some administrative requirements. Some infrastructure training has been cut out, but we will make sure that the requirements to maintain the armed forces and arm the armed forces with futuristic weapon systems and technologies that we wish to imbibe do not get affected. So that is one of the biggest challenges which as CDS I will face, and that will be the prioritization of the budget, because all capital acquisitions, revenue expenditures have to be prioritized by the CDS. And we will make sure that at least the procurement process does not suffer, because we have to maintain very high state of readiness at all times.
Well, General, I see. Frank, if you have a question you'd like to throw in, we have very limited time, but I'll yield the floor to you.
Well, all that I would like to say, it's been wonderful that you gave me this opportunity to interact with you in the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum on the third annual leadership summit. It has indeed been a great privilege to be interacting with all the senior business executives, the CEOs, the members of the Indian diaspora, and prominent members of the foreign policy fraternity on the importance of the strategic partnership between our two nations, that is India and the USA. Let me assure you that I think as the world's largest and biggest democracies, we have to take the lead and show the world the relevance of democracy and how two democratic nations can engage with each other, how we can move forward in various fields. And we are quite hopeful that India and the United States will continue to cooperate in a range of critical defense issues, ranging from maritime security to countering terrorism to defense production and in disaster relief. We hope that we will get good support from the United Nations in as far as United States in as far as technology is concerned. We are hoping to imbibe good technology from your partners. And let me tell you, we are open to investment in our country. Our country will allow 74% foreign direct investment. We have now created space for the industry to come and set up their businesses here. And not only will we facilitate the induction of high-tech equipment into our armed forces, but we will also become a good destination for export. And our nation is inviting investment with open arms. And I think this is an opportunity for the US defense industry to collaborate with the Indian industry and our defense public sector undertakings to ensure that the high-end technology is made available to us in India. and through us to other nations in the region. In that, we look forward to your support. Thank you.
Well, General, I think our time is up, but I just want to say that the United States over the last 20 years has demonstrated through every administration, Republican and Democratic, that this relationship is key to peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. And we will do whatever we can to make sure those ties are strengthened and that we work together to make sure that we enjoy peace and prosperity, and looking forward to investment in India for sure, but also for India investing in the United States.
Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful being here with you all.
I look forward to seeing you in person one day.
Yes, me too.